Yeah, bless up to yourself, thanks for being here again, man. Welcome back to the channel, people. Welcome back to the channel. Who there for the first time, who there for the second time. Really appreciate you guys, but you don't know the strips, you understand? We'll drop a video early this morning, so this is the second one for the day. Guess what? So when they miss Tuesday, Wednesday, you have to try to do something, for make up back the minutes that, you have lost over the last few days, but time is like, whatever you lost, you have to just try to perfect it in the future. And this is what I'm doing. Try to go ahead and, drop as many videos I can, try to get back the minutes back up, try to get back the bread and the balance sheet back up where it should be. You understand? But again, some report on Andre Blake, Bradley Carnell, the Philadelphia Union coach, did a press conference earlier today, the game on the weekend. I think they played on Saturday. Yeah, they played Chicago Fire on Saturday, where, the first question in the press conference, it was about Andre Blake, and they asked him about Andre Blake, and this is what Bradley Carnell, the Philadelphia coach, has to say around the report and confirm how long will Andre Blake out for.
Hi, Bradley. Any update on Andre Blake, first of all?
Hi, Jillian. Yes, what we're hearing is a hamstring injury that puts him out for the next couple of weeks. Don't want to give it an exact timeline, but these types of things, take whatever, 2, 3, 4, whatever weeks it might be. So, we're expecting, Rick to take over the reins for the next couple of games.
So look, the Philly Union, coach said it will be a few weeks, could be up to 3, 4 weeks. It's an hamstring injury. And, today is the 21st. Yes, today is the 21st, and we have probably around 17, 18 days left back for, the next. Is it that long? Is it that long? But I know we have a few more weeks, just a few more weeks before that game, away to Bermuda, and then the home game, versus Trinidad and Tobago. And it seems like that it's more likely, I doubt that Andre Blake will be in the squad. I mean, you never know. These stuffs are muscle injury. You can say, look, the player will out for 3 weeks, and when you look, he returned, right in the middle of that, in that 2 to 3 weeks. But again, my opinion, I think I'm going to rule out Andre Blake off the upcoming games in the September window. And this is for someone, to take the opportunity to keep, for the national team to stand between the sticks in 2 very important games into the 6-game journey of, the September, October, and November window. And who will it be? More likely it will be the long-standing second-string goalkeeper, Jamal Wade. And who will it be for the third string? That's another story, But Nana Lowe, from another elder statesman in the team, Nana Lowe moved for Iraq. When I saw this report, when I saw this news, probably over close to 48 hours now, and I was like, is this real? Like, Nana Lowe leaving the Saudi Arabia team. I think it was a 1-year contract he signed over there. And I think there was an option on the club side to trigger that clause. Don't quote me on that second year in his contract, if it was there, if it could have triggered by the club. But he signed a 1-year deal with the Saudi Arabia team. I was wondering, where is Nana Lowe? I was looking at the club website. I was checking the preseason camp squad. I didn't see anything. And I still see that Nana Lowe was a player of the football club. So I was like, where is Nana Lowe? The last time I saw a little footage of Nana Lowe, he was somewhere out and stunting in Jamaica with the Red Cup. You know the thing go already with these reggae players and Red Cup. You understand? But Nana Lowe signed for a team in the Iraq Stars League, and I was like, wow, Nana Lowe gone go fight war down at Iraq, But it's not even, one of the top clubs down there. No, when I look, in their history book, they have played the AFC Championship, quite a few years ago now. Not that established club in the Iraq Premier League, but then again, man, Nana Lowe is like 32, someone that over, I want to say 50, but it's right close to the 80 mark of appearances for Nana Lowe. He's right up there. He's one of the players alongside Andre Blake who's have the most cap in this current national team. And I was like, a very experienced player, a player that playing in the go ahead now and playing in the Iraq, Premier League. That would be, I think, his fifth country. Saudi Arabia, Norway, Egypt, the US, and now Iraq will be the fifth, country that Nanalo will be playing in the near future. But when you look at it again, this league will start after the World Cup qualifier. Where is Nanalo fitness? How long have Nanalo been out? Did he get any, type of preseason under his belt with this new club? I should say that how long now ago that, since this news broke that Nanalo, was with the team training, I'm not sure, but this news broke out probably look a bit under, 48 hours or over 48 hours. But how long Nanalo was around in the setup? Did he have any type of preseason going into, the international break? Because the international break will be after this weekend. After this weekend, I think it will. This weekend, yeah, I think after this weekend, it will. Let me check. I think, let me double check. I think, no, you have until the next weekend. Yes, you have until the next weekend. Then the international window will come up for the club. Yeah, so not this weekend, but after the next weekend, it will be the last weekend of club football. Then the players will go off for international break. But again, where is not a lot of fitness? You have around 2 weeks. Is it that the club is still in the preparation of getting into the preseason, getting in the other rounds? Because I think the Iraq League will start sometime in mid-September. So I mean, as a player like that, where is Nanalo quality at this moment? Where does it stand to tell me that Nanalo is still in his peak? Which club out there trust him? What kind of move is this? How many clubs were in for him as well? What trigger Nanalo and his agent to say, hey, okay, we're going to take up this offer and we are going to play in the Iraq Premier League? And my God, what does that say for the player quality? What does that say, around the player? Is it that he's still at that level of, I know, look, the last season that he played in the Saudi Pro League, he wasn't, the worst defender. He wasn't the worst defender. He was playing on one of the worst team, a team that finished just 1 point above the relegation job. So this is a team that would probably looking to go into the new Saudi Pro League season of, trying to better their squad, trying to get better player in so they can, try to at least, be in a better position coming in the start of the season and the end of the season and try to finish, a little bit more comfortable away from the relegation job. But he wasn't, Nanalo played around 20 plus games, and every game that he featured in, he started from the start. So he yet, in that season, didn't feature off the bench. He's starting every game that he played. So that shows me that the manager or the club was in that right direction. But what have triggered this clause and triggered Nanalo and his agent that, look, the next move will be to play in the Iraq Premier League. And I will say that, look, many of the Iraq international players that's playing for the national team don't come from the local league in Iraq. When I was watching, I think it was last summer. It was this year of the New Year where they had the Asian Premier League, and it was I think it was in Saudi Arabia or Qatar. One of those countries hosts the Asian Cup, and Iraq was one of the most surprising teams. So if you look at the national team for Iraq, they went to the knockout round, they got beaten, but I bet they're better player for the national team. Most of them located in the Qatar, Qatari League, the Saudi Pro League, the UA League as well. Not many of them, playing in the local league in Qatar. So not many of them played in the local league of Iraq. So I'm just saying, Nanalo gonna fight war. Yeah. We'll see if has gone up in Russia, gonna fight war as well. Nanalo gonna fight war. I'm not so impressed, but again, these players are professional. They have to do whatever is going to meet the criteria of for them, their agent. To collect their money. They have bills. They have family. They have kids to take care of. So that is the positive. But on the other side of trying to better your career, Nanalo should be in his peak. He's a center half, and I must say, at this age, he should be playing in a very competitive league. And this just shows me that, the player quality is not there. It seems like he's on a decline. Look at the league where he's coming from. The Saudi Pro League, he came up against players like Cristiano Ronaldo, Ivan Toney, loads of strikers that, they're importing into the Saudi Pro League. He would have come up, almost every game versus top striker. Almost every team in the Saudi Pro League have a top striker that they recruit from somewhere in Europe. So he will compete against some of the best strikers in the world. Is it like that player was in his prime, or his past is bad, but still have that level, of competitiveness, where Nanalo still can be sharper. And so I don't know the motive around Nanalo, going to Turkey, it's like going to Iraq. I just can't find the positive of him going to Iraq. The only positive I said I can find is for him to get a fat paycheck. I know much of a paycheck, I know much of a difference if any club was in line for him. You understand? What was the difference of a paycheck for a more competitive league? But again, we saw, another reggaeboy players doing it as well in Iraq. We saw even, Colin Anderson, went to that league as well. It didn't work out. So I'm just wishing Nanalo the best, but the Iraqi league, they have some very good facility, very good pitches as well. But again, the ambition of Iraqi, how you pronounce it, the Iraq people, them, you understand? Look, this is a country, the national team, they want to make progress. They want to go forward in football. They're trying their best to recruit players in their local league to give it the highlight. But I'm not sure. As a player, if I was in Nanalo position, I would go to Iraq, look at his CV, look at his resume. He has played for some very decent teams in the past as well. So you would tell me that a very professional player at the international level can't find a better club. I mean, I don't know. But again, moving on to, I want to talk a little bit of, Kyle Butler, going into the new season of the Schoolboy Money Cup, newly appointed coach for Vauxhall. And I'm going to say this, like, Kyle is a very, very smart young man. Look, many people who wouldn't have the privilege to know what was a Kyle Butler probably 15 years ago when he was a youngster coming up through the Phoenix Academy. He was the brainstorm. He was the brain. He was the engine for that Phoenix team coming up when he was like 10, 11 during the time when Leon Chippy Bailey was in that team. Many, bigger boys were in that team as well, but Kyle was the brain. Yeah, Kyle was the leader. Kyle was the one that demonstrated. He was the one that bringing that leadership skills at a young age. Just like how, you would have seen, his sister, Casey, bringing that leadership in the admin role as a young 19 years, was still a teenager, bringing it into that field. That's how they brought up by their father. But Kyle, in that Phoenix camp, growing up, the start of the journey of, Phoenix playing in that black and white, Kyle was the brainstorm. He was the man that they were looking to get the team rolling. And at that time, you couldn't believe, when I was playing against Kyle, I was a little bit older than him, but you couldn't believe of the stuff that he was teaching the kids, the bigger boys as well. And how, he was thinking the game, he was way ahead of his age. So now, seeing him going solo, taking up a young Vauxhall team, it's going to be a tough job. When you go into a zone, with I think JC, one of your arch rival out there in the East, Camperdown, starts. I think Edith is in the zone as well. I think Ila Selassie is in the zone. It's going to be a tough zone for him to get out. But again, everyone will be looking at Vauxhall. Everyone will be, grading Vauxhall at a high level because of, the name, the surname as well of the Butler. So it's good to see that, he's breaking away from, his dad, moving solo. He's trying to get into the coaching department, trying to be that top coach. And this is the start of something. And I do think that when I look at, the Vauxhall team playing in the Ali Cup at Excelsior High School a few days ago. I think it was probably it was like last week in the start of the Ali Cup, and I was very impressed of Vauxhall team. Look at the interview that I watched, with Kyle. Many of you would have seen that interview as well. He was talking about the leadership. He was talking about the mentality. He going into that high school, into the squad, changing around. I know the boys think the game, and he's talking about adding quality to that team as well. But he was emphasizing on the mentality. Kyle is a player that went to Europe, exposed to what it takes to be a professional in Europe, in the European game. So he went to a very decent level, was a top player in the KRC Genk U23 team, and I think he was right there. But then again, when you're the father of a Craig Butler, it's just going to be a lot of pressure, and different things happen, between the barrier of Craig and Kyle, father and son situation. Don't really want to get into that. And then, his club career cut short at a young age. He was very good at his age. He was very good, but again, moved to Austria and the pandemic and everything. It just seems like that was the right time for him to move away from the game and to, adventure into something different. And he's a smart young man. You could see that he's very business minded. He went to, something way out of, the region of football, but it's entertainment into dance and music. And I was a bit surprised, like, Kyle, I'm listening, but that will show you that the brains, this young man have and how he can adapt. So nothing short of, I'm praising this young man of, look, he will do well for this football, for this high school, but he's going to have to get the backing. He's going to have to get the backing from the school. He's going to be, the facility, he's going to need the local detail and stuff to help, get the boys over the line to prepare. He know exactly how to prepare a team, Again, with the experience from playing in some very good youth teams in Europe, he will add those experience into this and what you will have learned from a lot of those academy coach, coaching the kids at 16, 17 when he was in Europe. So he'd have grasped all that experience and trying to bring it to Vauxhall. But again, it's going to be tough for him to get out of this zone. Some very tough team, JC, Camperdown, Stats. That game against Camperdown is a rival game. Both high school are right out there, I think, in East Kingston as well. So lovely to see Kyle, praises for Kyle. I think he will do very well. But I'm going to zone in and lock in more and the Manning Cup more this campaign, and everyone will be locked in and see what will Vauxhall bring to the table. But again, I think he said in the interview that more than probably 95 or if not all the players have a next year. So it's a very young team. He's going to mold them, get them the experience, and I think next season we should see a better Vauxhall team with him again adding more pieces with the connection and link that he have. He will take his time gradually getting pieces into the school, and it will only help Vauxhall. Look at how his father changed around, Mona won the Manning Cup for the first time for that high school. So it's going to be a monumental task for Kyle to do something in his first year. But I want to see the little changes and the little details, but I have nothing short of praises for this young man. I know he can do it. He's a smart fella. And, he's very humble as well, so, and he would be going into, this is a schoolboy Manning Cup season very buzzing, like, it's going to encourage him. He will be, yes, this is my job. This is my team. And you're going to see the blueprint and this football club, what Kyle Butler will bring to the table. And then, it's just good to see that he's doing something away, from his father. So this father pressure will not so much be on his shoulder around this time, but still, people will be looking like, yeah, that's Butler's son. And I do think Butler have raised a very strong mind in the young man that, he can do something. So again, man, praises to Kyle, praises to Vauxhall to give him that opportunity. And let's see what can pop up around the appointment of Kyle Butler and what will hold for the future of him in the coaching career for Kyle Butler. But yeah, thanks for watching. This is Nicardo Media House, man. I'm out. Salute. See you guys tomorrow morning again 2 video today, 2 video tomorrow. That's how we're rolling. We are trying to catch up with what we last on Tuesday and Wednesday. So, ciao, ciao, people. I'm out.